Welcome back to Hardball. President Obama met with Democratic and Republican leaders from Congress today, and he acknowledged that the House Republicans oppose part of his stimulus bill. Let's take a listen.
What I think unifies this group is a recognition that we are experiencing a unprecedented, perhaps, economic crisis that has to be dealt with and dealt with rapidly.
It looks like he's sitting in a restaurant where they closed it for the night, all those chairs behind him. Anyway, will his $825 billion stimulus package shore up our sinking economy? And is the president serious about getting Republicans to sign on to it and perhaps agree with them on some changes? Democratic Congressman Jim Moran comes from Virginia. He's a member of the Appropriations Committee in the House. He supports the bill as written by the House Democrats. And Republican U.S. Congressman Brian Bilbray of California is opposed to the package. I'm going to give you a chance, sirs. What is wrong with the Barack package? Is it the sundry nature of some of the spending stuff in it?
Well, first, 50%.
Like the condoms in there, that stuff?
That is. But let's start off with 50% of it will not be spent within 2 years. So it doesn't do anything about stimulating the economy now, according to the stated purpose of it. Then you've got all the other stuff. What happened? And what happened is it's become a grab bag, just like Washington always does. You just use a crisis as an excuse to throw all our stuff in.
Contraceptive relief and all that stuff. You think it's just a Christmas tree?
Well, it's not just that. I mean, there's all kinds of other things about let's go after and start subsidizing the states on the Medicare issue and health care and whatever for 2 years. But then what happens in 2 years? Does that mean the federal government's going to cut the states' funding after that? And how does, there's so much of this, but when you say 50% of the funds committed are not going to fulfill the stated purpose, there is a problem. And even,
so
straight
you're saying
Democrats
half the
understand
spending cuts don't take effect for how long? I thought you said there's a time lag here.
No, the time lag is that 50% of these funds won't be available to be spent. The projects won't be able to be online for 2 years. And so you got half of this won't be around for 24 months and won't do anything for the economy. So why don't we take that 50% and take that out of this bill and sit down and reasonably and rationally talk about how to spend it.
Congressman, you're on appropriations. Can you tell that there's a time lag in the outlays? Is it a 2-year lag?
There will be some time lag, but the reality is that it will change people's attitude. It will get them spending. Now, all of it may not
How will it do that?
If the states and localities are cutting back right now, if they know there's money coming in, they're less likely to be firing people. We see estimates of tens of thousands of public employees being laid off. And in terms of the private sector, all of those folks that work for construction companies, cement companies, asphalt, you name it, they are losing their jobs. If they know that money is on the way, that there is going to be a need, they're going to keep those people on, and they're going to start hiring more. They're going to start training people. What we want is for people to be acting in a positive way toward the future. Right now, they're retrenching. And the reason why we're putting the kind of money we are putting in is that we need to go to people who will spend money. I know one of the big objections is that so much is going for food stamps, unemployment insurance, but that money is going to be spent immediately. It has
Let me explain that. Isn't it true that people in need tend to spend every nickel they get their hands on?
The fact is that's not necessary, so that stimulates.
What do they do with the money?
The fact is there is expenditures, but it doesn't. It's an artificial stimulus. The fact is that just spending money does not get the ball rolling again. There's a lot of investment. You're right. There's a lot of credibility.
So there's a poor neighbor. They go out to the local store and they start spending every $100 you give them.
Absolutely.
How does that hurt? Doesn't that help the economy?
The fact is that it helps the economy for a little bit, makes us feel good like we did in the 70s, and then when it starts coming down in 2 years, those funds start coming down, you start reducing those funding, then you start going back. The concept is, don't worry, we'll make this, the stimulus will work so well that we'll be able to pay this off. That's exactly what we did in the 70s, and it feels good politically right away, and the long-term impact, it was devastating on us at that time. The whole point is, let's be reasonable in this. It's so easy for Washington to spend other people's money and commit huge. And the argument is it's not big enough. The fact is you can go ahead and say we're going to spend for these programs and get these guys to spend over here.
Well, the problem is you just said something contradictory. You said some of the money will only have a 2-year impact and it'll wear out. And then you say half the money's not going to kick in for 2 years. It sounds like you got stage 1, all the immediate spending, and stage 2 picks up when that other spending wears out. No, that sounds like it works well.
The fact is the other half, the 50% that we go in there, is that so much of this is social programs that will kick in for now, be around for 24 months, and will drop off like a rock, unless what will be, what you market, Washington starts funding a social program. When do they cut? When will they reduce? They never cut.
Congressman, they never cut off any programs.
I understand these concerns, but we were told by 19 out of the 20 most prominent economists in this country, you've got to put over $800 billion into this economy or it's going to shut down, just like a computer shuts down. No more juice. So if you get this in there, we will have 2% less unemployment than we otherwise would. We'll have 4 million more people employed, and we felt that's worth it. We're in an emergency room now.
Are you saying lower? You say cut the number from $800 billion to below that number.
Well, at least,
so it's the amount that's at issue.
At least even the Congressional Budget Office says half of this money will not stimulate the economy within 2 years. So why don't we take that out and sit that on the table?
$10 trillion shortfall in terms of
absolutely.
demand. Don't you have to have a big-sized stimulus package to even kick the economy?
No, that is the illusion that just spending money does it all. Just throw money at the problem. There are institutional changes.
Do we know it'll work, Congressman? Do we know this stimulus package is going to get the economy growing again? Do we know it as a fact?
We know if you extend unemployment insurance, $1.76 is spent for every dollar you give somebody that's unemployed because it has that spin-off effect. Food stamps, it's about $1.64. We need to get money into the economy. It's good to save. It's good to pay off debt. But right now, it's most important to spend that money. And where we're putting it, we feel is where it's going to spend. But there's another priority, and that is to lay the foundation for future economic growth. That's why we're putting it into the infrastructure that has been neglected.
Maybe the best way to spend money would be to make Medicare cover every person who's alive right now. Everybody go to the doctors tomorrow morning.
Not the way our health care system is now. We'd waste too much money.
Well, a lot of people want health care. They can't afford it, and they'd like to have that money right now to go to the doctors. Thank you, Congressman Jim Moran. Thank you, Congressman Brian Bilbray from California. Jim Moran is from Virginia.